going? Welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I'm your host, Mike Gonzalez. Coming in a little late this week. It was Easter Sunday, so recording on Sunday was a bit of a chore. I had my normal show and everything, but I could tell you a little bit about my Easter. But anyway, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming by and visiting. My dog's barking in agreement. So yeah, I'll tell you, my daughter's 9 years old. And I went to her Easter party at her school. I had to take off of work a little early to be able to do it. I've been running low on time off, but it's just really important with all the different sicknesses and stuff. I've been burning up all my PTO, my paid time off. But I was having a talk with my wife about it, and she was saying how she's in the third grade now, but when she gets to the middle school portion of she goes to a private school where my wife teaches, and when she gets to middle school, they won't have any kid parties where parents are allowed to come. Or yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure there's some way to, but in some respects, I guess kids stop, in general, wanting the parents to come out. I guess maybe that's a thing too. I don't know, but so long as my daughter wants me around, I'm gonna, come around. But it brought to light a lot of different ideas about the subject. Maybe it wasn't like a thing back in the day. I know culturally, like just in general, what was going on at the time when I was growing up was a time where families were becoming dependent on dual income situations where mom and dad were both working full time and still struggling to make ends meet. So, I mean, obviously there's some room for contextual forgiveness. But the idea was that my parents had never, they went to one basketball game. But I mean, certainly never went to any school parties or whatever, that kind of thing. I think maybe they went to like some, like we went to some festivals or something like on the weekends, or I tried to remember that sort of idea, because we talked about the kids in the classrooms. Like it never fails when I go to these. I go to a bunch of these Christmas parties and Valentine parties, and you always see the kids kind of looking around for their parent, and sometimes they, by now they're used to it, so that it's just not even a thing. But early on, especially when I think with my son, I went to. It was difficult because of the situation with his mom. But I remember I went to to his baseball games or his recitals, and I tried to. A lot of times I would find out at the last minute, or you need to go out and find a way to check find out what team he's playing for, and figure it out, all these different things. I was like, I don't know the first thing about little leagues on this side of town, or that, it's just, it was all, but I guess, like I said, you make yourself available as much as you possibly can and within the parameters. But anyway, especially early on, you would see that it mattered to the kids if you showed up or not. It mattered to my kid for sure. Um, um, but this one in particular, I think, hit me a little bit different. I mean, it was nothing special. It's funny because I don't understand a parent. I could not care less about other parents or what they think of me or. But I some parents will, they're these dads and they're talking over here in this corner about just about they're talking shop or something. I'm like, why even come? Like, what's the point? What are you doing? Um, and on the other side, sometimes I used to help. It depends because some moms are very territorial when it comes to helping out around like setups and teardowns of the parties. I kind of I've always had that mentality of doing it on a case by case basis. Like, you know what I mean? Like one year I was like put the plastic gloves, those big giant plastic gloves, and I jumped right in and I started serving the kids and sometimes there's a mama bear just wanting to run the joint and be like, I'm in charge. Yeah, I got this, whatever. Sometimes you just got to find your place and, grab a pizza box and start handing out pizza. You know what I mean? It's just, but, so I get it sometimes, but like for me, I beeline, I go get one of those their little chairs and I sit next to my daughter and I'm like, let's just hang out. Like, I'm here. Like, are they going to do, and if they do party games or whatever, then I tell her, go have fun. I want to watch you and cheer you on and whatnot. But if not, then, she fixes herself a plate and she grabs a few things for me. And, we try to have a bit of a memory in that limited time. Today, on that day, I took her after the thing. We had the little party, and she does this thing where she's like she hops in the car and she says, "Play this playlist." It's like go to YouTube and play these songs from this movie um and I hadn't seen the movie. It's called Leo. It has Adam Sandler in it. And he plays a lizard, and the lizard, I guess, goes and stays with these different kids and whatnot. But she said it's her favorite song right now, like on this movie, and it was like the songs of the movie Leo, right? So, look, I had no idea what this was about, right? But I play the song, and it's a song about leaving elementary school. And these kids are 10. They're getting ready to be done with elementary school. So it talks about them when I was 8, when I was 7, when I was whatever, and this is what I would do. And I'm listening to my daughter singing parts of the song that she knows, and it's saying things like, I was whatever age, and I would leave cookies out for Santa, and I was this old when I stopped doing this and doing that, and I mean, it was like a gut punch. We got to the house and the song was finishing up, and it said something like, I'm like the parents, I used to like you being around or whatever it was, and then it was like, I'm gonna miss you being around or something like that, and then the last line was something like, I miss you already. And I'm trying to, like, in the corner of my eye, I'm trying to look in the back seat, and my daughter, she's like completely innocently singing the song about, probably in her mind, it's like echoing the things that she's seeing and hearing and experiencing, in a very innocent and joyful way, right? But me in the front seat, I'm like getting like emotional and like, and it's just it's heartbreaking. and and it was funny because I'm sitting there in the front seat and like I'm like trying to clear my throat and be like, ready to go inside, she's like she's like, yep. And it's right back to like our bubble, our little the world that I'm holding on to with, dear life, praying that it never ends. But also that morning, this was the Easter party, which they did on Friday. But on Easter morning, they wake me up at 5:30 in the morning, and like they do on all the different holidays, and we go out to the living room, and the Easter bunny had hidden eggs all around the front of the house, and my daughter's like, all in, just like still wanting to hang on and just kind of go with everything. And I know it's just right around that corner, you know what I mean? Like where all of these sort of ideas of magic and mystery, or sort of, where you can only pretend that everything is possible for only so long. And the whole thing about it is I've been thinking a lot about it and trying to figure out how to broach the subject. Because in all honesty, it's like, it doesn't have to be this be all end all of like a sort of road you cross and all of a sudden nothing that you believed was true, and all of a sudden everything is a harsh, vulgar reality that it's like a transition between childhood innocence and, like, I guess, cynicism and bitterness of the, you know what I mean? And I don't think that that's just the only like A or B alternatives, but I've often, like, I've battled with my son, who's 18, about his perception of like potential happiness, you know what I mean? Like the idea of like dreams. And I remember we were at SeaWorld, right? And my son and I, when he was, I mean, he couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old. And we were at the Shamu adventure or whatever, like this giant, killer whale does these tricks and stuff, right? Well, one of the things they do is they bring this killer whale up on this platform, like it just, I don't know, beaches it. So I don't know how they do it, but whatever. When we were walking around getting ready to pick what we wanted to do, one of the workers came over to my son and I, and they're like, "Hey, little man, do you want to be a part of the show today or whatever?" And I was like, he looked at me and I was like, "Yo, if you want to do it, man, I'll back you up." This is a little, little wee baby boy of him, and no prep, no whatever. They scooped him up, and I follow him into this lower area, and they're like, "Don't worry, everything's cool. We're just gonna be right here. He's gonna get to be right up next to the Shamu. It's gonna be great." And maybe he was like 6. He was really small though, and young enough to where the audience is like, "Oh," and all that kind of stuff. Like with boys, it kind of happens pretty fast. Like once they hit a certain, like, like 7 or 8. It's just like, it's not so much awe. It's almost like just, all right. But I mean, with my son, he was, pretty charismatic kid. But so they get him up to the thing and tell everybody, we'd like you to meet this young man and this little boy, whatever. And they're like, what's your name? And all this kind of stuff, right? And they were like, and what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And he was like, didn't miss a beat. He was like, a race car driver. And everybody claps and hoots and hollers and yells, and they were all about it. And the reason I tell that story is he had this, I still have it. They gave him this necklace that was made with a big wooden tail of a like a whale tail, right? And it says on there, like to always keep dreaming or something like that. And to like smash cut and to like see the present, day where he feels so constricted by the obligations and the day-to-day, like having to get a job and pay rent and provide. And last week, we were hanging out, and I might have even mentioned it on the podcast. I'm not even sure if I did, but the next day, I was telling him the night before, I said, be careful, I trust your driving. I just don't like other people's driving, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what possessed me or what caused me to even think like that. But the next day he was at a light and was rear-ended in his company work van truck, his work truck. He was rear-ended by some lady who just wasn't paying attention and didn't even apply her brakes, just full on wrecked the back of the truck, gave him full whiplash, and she gets out and no problems, full airbags and all this, stuff. But I mean, and he's been in several auto accidents and just had a struggle of a time since graduation. And but he's got a good head on his shoulders. But my point is that he's very much like feels the weight of being an adult. And I believe it happened really quick with him, where he maybe he doesn't allow himself to dream as much, the challenges he faced with his mom and with me separating and navigating through a lot of scary stuff in his life that I'm beginning to think that I don't know as much about the life that he's lived. When you spend 80% of your time, even 90% of your time away from him, you know what I mean? I mean, not by any choice of your own, but just the reality of the situation, right? I mean, it just feels like there's just a lot. But and I feel like that it's weird as a provider, right? So I wear this hat, or I have this role of being the primary breadwinner, what have you. I mean, it was a deal that my wife and I made long ago, and that was that she be there as much as possible for my daughter, who had, ever since she was a baby, needed extra time and attention, but for medical reasons and so on. But when I was little, prior to starting school, before I was in kindergarten, my mom was with me all the time, right? She was a stay-home mom. And then when I started kindergarten, she went to work. but I just remember the idea of that. But I think that she does a tremendous job. So, but that was the idea. That was the deal. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll work 2, 3 jobs to facilitate that dynamic, but it has to be there. And she held true to it. I mean, she got a job teaching, and first she was doing like daycare, or like, I don't know how to describe it, like assisting, and then worked her way up and so on, to be there at the school with my daughter all the time. And they work with her medical appointments and all that kind of stuff. But in order to facilitate that, I do a lot of times where I work and I'm not there, so it's kind of the opposite, where with my son, it was always, I'll get him on the weekends, right? Even at first it was the whole weekends, then it was just Sundays. But whenever I would clock in and whenever I'd get a chance to pick him up, it was always theme parks and um, and different fun places, like the zoo, or um, uh, like giant arcades, or like those kind of places where they have all that different kind of, go-karts and all that kind of stuff. Movies every week, just stuff all the time. Where like, for example, today they were off of school because it's a private school, and like a post Easter sort of day off, and I'm at work, and then they're sending me photographs of being at all these exhibits at the zoo, and it's just all these memories, and I get these photographs like all the time, where they're at a theme park, or the park or somewhere, and like on Saturday, I had a last minute second show added, so I came home so I could spend 20 minutes coloring Easter eggs with my daughter, and then I had to turn around and take off to another show. You take the times that you can get, but it definitely weighs on me sometimes, that I feel like it matters to me that she's having these memories, and that she's able to get these she's having this great life where she does all this cool stuff, and her mom gets to go on all her field trips, and her mom gets to go with her to all these different events and different things, and takes her to cheerleading, or to horseback, her horseback therapy, and her doctor's appointments and all this kind of stuff. Just, I mean, all around gets to be a part of that, the grand scope of her life. But I think that's it, that in my own way, it's as important that she's able to do that. It's just sometimes when she starts singing about like the chapter of her life that included all this kind of cute, together the things, it is rounding that corner. It seems like it just hits a little different. That's all. But I wanted to really hammer it home that, I mean, when they woke me up on Easter morning, I went out and I started picking up these eggs, and she had this basket, and the basket was really thought out. The Easter Bunny really killed it. Brought all these things that was particular to her likes, the things that she, and I'm just sort of awestruck, and I'm looking at this everything that was in the basket was special, um, and everything was a wow moment for my daughter. Everything was great, and she had a separate gift that was from me and from her, which I thought was sweet. But I mean, she found time to do all this stuff, to shop for these particulars and to have everything just so, to get up extra early in the morning. And she's done it for every holiday, mind you. Like, I made fun of it that one time where it was just like Valentine's, and I didn't know. Like, oh, we do that for this too. But I'm telling you, like, just, and so no matter what happens, that memory is always going to sort of be there. That it's undeniable. Yeah, that 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 her parents, by way of her mom, made sure that every holiday and everything was special, and and you know, and for that I'm super thankful. I think that's great. You know, I mean, I couldn't. I was talking to my mom on one of our afternoon talks, and she was saying how just one year she just decided that holidays weren't worth it to do stuff for. And I was telling her, like, do you remember when that was? Like, and she talked about, I mean, mom was a little bit older, and so all forgiveness for that as well. Hindsight being what it is. But she remembers, more of an adult realization that her kids were all married and doing their things with their respective families, their in-laws, over here, in-laws over there. I was waived from that scenario because I was, at the time when she was having this realization, they just didn't have that. They didn't do it that way, my mom and dad, right? When I was little, there was like a patriarch, my grandfather and my grandmother. They had such a strong hold on the entire family that everybody went to their house. You know what I mean? Cousins upon cousins upon cousins. And people went where they were going to go, but the meat of it was all together, right? But yeah, I mean, when my brother married his wife, and my sister was with her husband, they kind of started prioritizing their families. And for a while there, I mean, I had my son, but even then we do it on the weekends. So, we just made it work. But anyway, I'm kind of tangenting. The point was that now that I see what it looks like to have, holidays be made into big ordeals, like, for her, that it really kind of opens my eyes. With my son, it was always, I'd pick him up and we would do the holiday like on the Sunday after or the Sunday before. So my family would get together, we would hang out, we'd eat food, we'd make it as special as possible. I'd give him gifts, birthdays, holidays, whatever. And my sacrifice with him was that he would go to his family, his mom's side of the family, who had a bunch of kids that he could hang out with, And plus, I worked in an industry where it was 7 days a week, so I hadn't seen a holiday off in a very long time during that period. But in retrospect, I mean, I'd like to think that I did good by him and gave him some good memories. You'd have to ask him, but anyway, I digress. Trying to read my notes on the wall. Anyway, posted and oh yeah. And it's so funny. I'll tell you something, this is off the subject, but you know, the majority of the burdens of like the planning stages of executing anything, right? I think are hyped up, and you spend all this time plotting and trying to figure out, and you know, sometimes it's beneficial, like they say, previous proper planning, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Like the idea is like it is good to kind of put the time in to try to figure out what you're going to do, like have your vision boards and your notes of all the things that you want to accomplish. But I was reminded this week that's all well and good, but it's far more time consuming than when you actually take the step. I was talking to my mom on one of our drives home, and we were the topic of the afternoon was like getting things done and talking about getting things done, and how it gets so tiresome talking about getting things done and talking about getting things done, and you sort of go over and over these plans of what you want to do and what you expect to do and what you hope to happen, and on and on and on. And I said, you know what? I'm like, on one respect, like either do it or don't do it. Like start or don't start. Like it gives you a migraine just sitting there going over and over and over these plans that you begin to think, I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to take a step forward because it's here we are a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, and we're still talking about the same garbage. What are we doing here? La, 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 right? So I was driving home and I said, you know what? I've been walking around this cluster. If you listen to this podcast on any level, if you had heard it one time or two times in the past 4 months, you would have heard me talk about my cluttered room full of drums and music equipment and just general stuff. During this period, I was going out and buying things, and I was going to sell them for a profit, right? And so I'm driving home, and I said, you know what? Hell or high water, I'm going to post something, if not a whole bunch of things, but I'm going to post today. That's it. I'm done. Like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm not going to say how I want to get rid of things. I'm just going to do it, and that's it. And I just took 15 minutes. I got to the house. I walked around, took photographs of different things. I separated things. Maybe it took me more like 20 minutes. But point being, I just knocked it out real quick, taking some photographs. I posted up on some for sale sites. And I posted 4 items, right? I sold all the drums as one big unit. I priced them out, and I said to myself, all right, this is what I paid for each of these items. I'm going to mark it up just by a fraction. I'm going to make a little bit of money on the deal. But it's because I polished them up and I had done all this work to make them presentable. I sold it in a day. Everything, all this stuff that was behind me that was, you know, blocking me, I sold all that in one day. And then I sold an extra bike that I bought to turn around and flip, which I did for a small, tiny, you know, modest profit. Everything I sold was for a modest profit, but it was twofold. One, I wanted to prove to myself that I was going to sell these items and get them the hell out. And number two, I wanted to expedite the sale. They were priced to sell. You know, my wife wanted me to take a loss and just say, look, just, and I said, no, that's not what we're doing here. I don't want to just, you know, put my tail between my legs and run home a loser. Like, I bought these items to turn around and make a profit. And even though it's not a huge profit, I'm going to take that as a win. And so I posted 4 separate things. I counted the drums as one and the bike as another. And then I sold a bike rack, well, 2 bike racks. I was on a roll on that by that point, because like I didn't even have the other bike rack for sale. It just happened to be in my front yard. But the guy said he was going to come by the house, and so I said, "Look, I'm at the store. There's a bike rack on the porch. If you want that one, just add $10 or whatever." And he did. He bought it, whatever. So my point being that all of those months of just going on and on about how I wanted to get these things out of here and how I felt they were weighing me down, blah, blah, blah. And then one day I just said, let's go. And it took less than a week to get into a better position. You know what I mean? I'm ready for like a phase 2. I've got a bunch of lawn equipment I'm going to get rid of and sell, and, you know, whatever else. But I'm in a much better place with that, because I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to do it. And I've been, you know, when I talk about, I always said that the universe sort of gives you reminders or puts things out there that you just have to be aware of it. And recently there's been a lot of different things on social media or on the TV shows that I've been watching having to do with with that concept of just taking steps forward, of not getting caught up in the planning, of actually taking action, of taking the first steps, being, you know, half the battle. You know, so I was talking about my uncle passed away. And if you don't know me, you most likely, in most cases. So that on its own, it was my father's brother. But my uncle was a very larger than life character who was, you know, he was a lead singer, frontman, and with, you know, regional like success, and, you know, well, actually he, you know, did nationwide tours and played on TV shows and things like that. I mean, by local standards, for sure, he was known and loved by many people. Cast a ginormous shadow, you know. I mean, being a kid, in my family, I would go see him. My dad played drums and he would sing, and since before I even knew what I was witnessing or listening to, it was just very natural, very common to see them performing all the time. You know, my kids don't go see me play. My son has maybe seen me play twice or 3 times. My daughter saw me play, you know, bass guitar once, twice, if she remembers, and has listened to me sing a handful of times over the phone. But, you know, we grew up just going to the rehearsals. Our playtime was built around the rehearsals. We would bring the night in, playing in the backyard while my uncle and father and their band would rehearse in this separate garage in the backyard. and you would smell coffee, um, just emanating out of this small garage, um, and you would hear this, and it was very universal. The music that they played, it was like like they did English and Spanish, but it was like they did like a lot of rock and roll from the 1950s. It was just very welcoming music. And they played like James Brown or whatever when they got kind of and they played different things. He kind of sounded like Tom Jones and danced like James Brown. He was just this real like pretty great performer and very comfortable on stage. He would talk on stage and be like in like not only in between songs, but like while the song was playing, he would like be like saying things and making jokes and being very much, you know, charismatic and so on. But so when we were growing up, it was just natural that we were going to all be involved in music in some respect. I mean, it's hard for me to say, that it's undeniable that he was an influence, but not in the way that I think that one would think, because the music part would seem like that wasn't even a choice. It was just part of our being. It just was. And that's the respect that I think that, but he would sing with a lot of heart and emotion. I remember some of the first times that I would watch him sing, especially certain songs, I would think, like, he's really sad, or he's really like feeling whatever that is. And that part, I think that it spoke to me that music was an instrument, no pun intended. Music was a medium to channel emotions and to evoke those emotions in others and allow people to feel those things, and that people wanted to they wanted to feel things through the music. I know I did, but I mean, and I think anytime that you have somebody with a strong frontman personality, there's some level of ego and some level of alpha, right? And so I think that was part of the challenging part of being in that dynamic. But that's a conversation for another day. But I tell you, his passing for me was out of the blue. I was writing a song for him. Maybe a couple weeks ago, I might have said it on the podcast, but I had a dream, and we were writing this song, and then I had a dream the next night about you really need to finish that song, kind of thing. And I wish I could say that I had finished it. I wish I could say that I just turned around and went and finished it, but I do. I mean, I will inevitably. Just unfortunately, I won't be able to have him sing it. It was written in his voice. You know what I mean? Like, it was written for him. But it's one of those weird things, man. Like, it's like I'm not bummed he was was older man. You know, he lived a full life, and I truly believe that my father would have been first in line down here to come greet him and take him home. Like, and I mean, that's just being real. I'm not even talking about like any sort of, you know, I'm not trying to be like cute or like, you know what I mean? Like put a twist on words and be like poetic. Not, I'm just saying, I know my dad was like, let's go, you know? I mean, but I got to thinking like his entire generation, like all of his sisters and my father, all of the siblings of that entire generation have all passed now. And that sort of blew my mind. I didn't want to tell my cousin that because his mom recently passed away and she was their sister. I felt it was too soon to be like, isn't this kind of weird, you know? But it's one of those things where time's just like a milestone, right? Where something significant happens that you're like things are moving along, man. And you know, I meant to look up this guy's name. This young man just passed away. He was 27 years old. He was an actor he portrayed, he was on this TV show that I recently been watching called Gen V. It was a spinoff of The Boys. And he died on a motorcycle accident. I was just like angry because, you know, I mean, he had done another show that I'd seen him in, and I just thought he was a solid, like, growing actor where he was, you know, you see a lot of these young people in these TV shows and their acting is a little weighted, like, all right, I'll give him a grain of salt because, you know, he's young and whatever. But this guy was really good. He had a good, you know, natural instinct for acting. He was good. And you know, I mean, you're gonna hear people talk about the 27 Club and all of it's stupid because it's just yet another unnecessary young death. And so that death hits me a little bit different, right? I'm not like, you know, my condolences to my uncle, to the rest of my family, to my cousins, to the, you know, what a loss, I know. And I'm just the worst when it comes to social media and everybody's posting pictures and videos and, you know, all this kind of things. And I don't think that's not my vibe. Like I talked to his son over the phone. That's kind of my style. I told him I'd finish the song. Maybe he would sing on it. His son, he's a singer too. But I don't do well. Like my daughter has a procedure on the day of the funeral, so I probably even can't go to. I won't be able to go because I'm going to be tending to her post the procedure. But I might go. I'm gonna try. I just, you know, as many times as my daughter goes in for different things, I want to be there for her as well, you know. But you know, I realized that about myself, you know, I get highly emotionally charged and then I don't know how to properly express it, you know, where I'm angry here and I'm angry there and I'll probably cry at a commercial here in a minute, I'm sure of it. And I nearly was in tears when my daughter was singing a song about elementary school. It's just, but I guess it's all connected, right? Like I don't cry when it's appropriate or when, you know, maybe that's something I can figure out together. Anyway, I'm glad I got a chance to hang out and do an episode this week. I think we're close to the 90s or in the 90s now, in as far as number of episodes. Be sure to email me at lostlikemike@gmail.com or leave a comment or what have you. But I really appreciate the emails because I get to respond to those or get to think about them a little bit heavier. And take care of yourselves. And I saw this thing with Russell Brand talking about, and I really love Russell Brand, by the way. And he was talking about Easter being this time of rebirth and renewal. And so we should all, take a minute and try to focus on reinventing ourselves and however respect we want to. Oh, and you know what? Talk about collective consciousness. I've been thinking about this for a while, and then I heard a guy talk about it, so I'm going to say it, even though it's probably going to sound like I got it from the guy. But honestly, I think as an artist, what I really want to happen is to write a song and or to get a song that goes viral over on some sort of platform, just big enough to where Kelly Clarkson picks up the song and sings it better. I think that's the goal of every artist right now. I don't care if you're whoever you are. That's like the ultimate goal, is for you to get your song to Kelly Clarkson and have her sing it better than you can. The guy's take was different. He's like, people should put it in their contracts that labels don't allow Kelly Clarkson to sing their songs because she's robbing people over there. She's robbing them of their songs because she does them so well. But honestly, I mean, I've always loved Kelly Clarkson. But I just think that, she has the perfect platform right now. She has her TV show where she just gets to sit there and learn a song and sing it as she wants, whenever she wants. And it's just, yeah. So she's a fantastic talent. Anyway, I'll leave you on that note, and I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you around.